The Ancients' World. Chapter 331 Conflicting Goals. Father and the rest of my family are moving in their plans. Why Father decided to bring the humans from Earth here is idiotic to me. Now he's putting importance on a half-breed mongrel that doesn't deserve any of his power. Michael desecrated the sanctity of the blood in his veins. Copulating with a female and fathering a child. What makes me mad the most is he was proud Father was happy that Sarah exists, no matter how fake his existence really is. They ignore the fact that he's not the actual son. Only the power existed. Changing Amelia's memories made things easier for them, making her believe she gave birth to a son, but when all she did was give birth to an unguided and thoughtless power. Finding its host in Sarah, and before him, Jameson. Otherwise known as Blue Chaos. The power that was once Jameson now belongs to Sarah, and the reason for this is the prophecy couldn't be fulfilled without someone like Sarah. Jameson lacked the one thing Sarah had. A hard life and the will to make the hardest decisions. I think Jameson a lowly creature, and Sarah is a better option. The manipulations of my father make me look amateurish, and I hate that. Saying that his plan is for the future of all existence. How have you been, brother? My internal debating is interrupted by the voice of my sister. Gabriel. She's here for the same reason I predicted when the old gods were set to return. The underworld and overworld must work together. The old gods have no interest in sharing, and if they did, I would have joined them, but they made their stance clear. Enjoying the silence of my throne room, sister. Tell me, have you come here to beg for my cooperation? To plead that the forces of underworld must work with overworld? I haven't agreed to it yet, working towards this goal. She folds her arms and looks at me with pity. You used to be such a noble and beautiful man, Samael, now you're a twisted and prideful monster. Your physical appearance matches what was inside all along. Her words aren't new to me. Gabriel and the rest of the family wouldn't understand. I'm the one that should rule. I know what's best. She moves closer with her wings outstretched, my demon ones matching in an exact opposite. Father has already begun to move towards confrontation. The old gods aren't strong enough to face overworld yet, but when they are, there will be a war, and you'll have to pick a side in this fight. Annihilation or helping us. Letting her speak without interruption makes her drool on. POV, Gabriel, one of the archangels of overworld. Location, Samael's private palace, underworld. Time, 10:02 p.m. Reading my brother's emotions is never easy, not since he's had the demonic form he has now. He doesn't look anything like I remember. The last time I saw him was so long ago. Samael, that is a name that is never spoken in underworld. The only reason you're still alive from using it is that I permit it. His pride and vanity have consumed him fully. That's the sin he represents, pride. That is the name you were given when you were created. Not the name you go by now. Despite what you believe, you were an angel at one point. Now all you are is this. His smile makes my skin crawl. His teeth are sharp, and his red face and twisting horns make him a ghastly sight. He's never going to redeem himself. There are too many things that are blinding his vision, too many things that he can't see past. Better that I be myself and know who I am. Then pretend that I'm something else and live a lie. I don't know why Father wants Samael to help us. We can win this fight without Underworld's help and his help. This trip was pointless. He stands up from his throne and walks over to one of the windows. He peers into the landscape of dead trees. He thinks himself king of this realm, but our Father still has power over this domain. Tell our Father that I'll help when the time comes, but I want something in return. He's always playing at something. Whatever it is, it'll serve him better in the end. I will not leave here without knowing his demand, but before I can ask, he turns around and starts to speak again. My price for helping is an item that's currently being held by Sarah. The dice of Wayland. That's my price for my help and Underworld's help. The dice of Wayland. What purpose would Samael have with the dice of Wayland? Speaking on our father's behalf regarding this is ill-advised. Getting in between Samael and father's mind games always leads to a mess. I'll relay this to father. I'm surprised, Samael. I never thought you'd fold so easily. My attempts to goad him into anger are easily seen, and he squints his eyes and stares into me. He chuckles to himself. His chuckle turns into a full-blown laugh, and it's one filled with a twisted growl at the base. Stick to playing messenger, Gabriel. You're not cut out for the big leagues. Run along, sister. Father won't be waiting for you for long. I hope that Michael has a better time than I am. He's going to take longer than me. His task is far more delicate than this one. POV, Fenrir, Beast of Ragnarok. Location, Gaia, near the Boulder Mountains. Time, 10:41 p.m. The cold breeze brushes against my fur, and a calm comes over me. My fur blows and waves in a non-existent wind going in the opposite direction of the current direction of the wind. The moon illuminates my view of the landscape out in the distance. Miles of forest and snow-capped mountains are under the light being reflected. Hard times are coming for many people. Gaia is going to undergo a massive change in the upcoming war. One that'll shape and tear lives apart. Gabriel should have already spoken to Samael at this point. Now all I'm waiting for is Michael to finish his task, and the Almighty Father will tell me to retrieve Sarah. Michael and Samael. It was wise to send Gabriel to speak with him. If Michael went, there would have been a battle. There is too much bad blood between the two of them. The politics of gods is so boring. I should have stayed out of it. Something is maddening about having to wait for a long time, with nothing to do. My own children are going to be dragged into this battle. They'll not be able to resist the chance to have a glorious battle. Only you would think that. Fenrir. The feminine voice of Gabriel fills my ears, and I see her standing next to me. I've completed my task, and I hope that Michael finishes his soon. That was the first time she saw Samael since his transformation. He was once the most beautiful angel in Overworld. His ego swelled and fed his pride, wanting what his father had. Many things went wrong at that time, and Samael only has himself to blame. It's evidence that even higher beings like angels are capable of falling to the deepest depths of darkness. His pride was all he had left in the end, and he decided to become his own father's greatest enemy. Even in my long life and with all my power, I wouldn't want to fight the Almighty Father. Only a madman would, and Samael has proven to be just that. Even though I'm the beast of Ragnarok, there are beings that I can't beat. The Almighty Father is one of them. A/N, below this line, I'll be keeping Sarah's player information. That way, I won't have to place it into the story above anymore. It takes about 180 words up. Slayer, Zirn, level 193. EXP, 3/100%. Title, The Son of Archangel Michael, Hidden. Stats: Strength 7095, Endurance 7045, Dexterity 7215, Speed 8240, Focus 19660. Mana Aura Control, 6/100%. Health, 76,560, million/76,560, million. Mana, 216,600, million/216,600, million. Stat points, 30. Armor rating, 500. Inventory: Dice of Wayland, Divine, Hardened Tree Sap Armor, Very Rare, The Witness, Legendary Sword, Fenrir's Whistle, Divine, Sally's Dresses 5x Camping Gear, Food Rations 4x, Dried Meat 4x, Fishing Poles 2x, Fish 8x, Festival Garbs 2x. Passive perks: Inheritor of the Sword, Son of Heaven, Slayer of Evil, Holy Willow Trees, Savior, Finder of Legends, the Divine who has legend destined for greatness, Dungeon Diver and Overachiever. Active skills: Heaven's Light level 59 325/5900 protected by Heaven level 59 225/5900 level .77 4600/130000 parry level 5380/5300 double strike and /A King Slayer and /A Raging Machine and /A Winged Glory Angelic Flight Divine Pressure Exertion Divinity Pulse Controlled Fun. Chapter 332 Crossing the Border. My eyes are still heavy with sleep, and it takes me a few seconds to force them open. The sun is just starting to rise and shine through the broken windows, lighting the room to blinding levels. My spine and neck pop in the motion of leaning my body up. My legs flex and stretch out, popping my joints as the action spreads to the upper half of my body. A premature unfurling of my wings occurs. The brilliant golden feathers reflect the light in the room and make it brighter. My wings coming out without me toggling them on have happened from time to time. They just want to be stretched too. Sucks the room isn't big enough for me to stretch them all the way out. The slight stir of Sally causes me to look at her. She's looking at the wing that's above her, upset at the light that's being reflected off it. "C'mon, Sarah, it's barely the crack of dawn, turn those miniature stars off." She turns on her side and buries her face in her pillow. The wooden floor isn't the most comfortable place to sleep. Now that she's up, she'll not fall back asleep. Before I can say anything in response, a creak from the direction of the door grabs my attention. Turning my head, I see Jasmine. Her expression is many things. Fear, confusion, shock, surprise. Haley told me she's a devoted follower of the Church of Light. What? She can't find the words to speak. From her perspective, this is a shocking revelation. Jasmine is a sweet and slightly airheaded girl, but that's just a defense mechanism to keep the creeps away. I've come to understand a bit more about Jasmine, and she's a bright girl with a great life ahead of her. "Morning, Jasmine. Sorry about the bright light." My wings disappear into my back at the end of my apology. Her eyes bulge slightly, and she takes a step back. She leans against the wall, and she starts to take deep breaths. The longer she tries, the more breath she loses. She's starting to hyperventilate. She might need some help, and with that, I'm the only one around at the moment. "Jasmine, you need to take slow breaths. Pace them." She starts to freak out more as I stand up and approach. My closing proximity causes her to slide to the ground. Once I make it to her, I squat down and place one of my hands on her shoulders. Her eyes are squeezed shut, and her breathing is becoming more desperate. She's elevated into a panic attack. I lean her forward, and her head is between her legs now. Her breathing is ragged, but she's not panicking anymore. Sally's soft footsteps glide across the wooden floor as her bare feet smack it in a rush to get over here. "Jasmine, what happened?" She sits next to me and places her hand on Jasmine's free shoulder. Sally was still waking up when Jasmine saw my wings. She saw them? That's the only explanation I can see. My nodding head confirms her question. She lets out a soft sigh and wraps Jasmine in a hug. Jasmine immediately responds and wraps around Sally like a constrictor to its food. Jasmine lets out soft cries, and I see the tears falling to the ground from Sally's clothed chest. "Haley told me how much you follow the Church and the Gods of Light. We were waiting for the right time to tell you. I don't know if my words get through." Going through all she has, the Church and the Gods of Light were all she really had for a while. Many ex-slaves turned to religion and common jobs to fade into the background of society. Few rarely go beyond those two paths. "I'm sorry I'm acting like a weirdo." She tries to talk through gasps and choking sobs. People react differently to situations than others. I'm glad she isn't bowing her head and calling me things that I'd rather not be called. In all truth, I'd prefer this reaction over the alternatives. "Oh, you don't need to be sorry, sweetie. Sarah understands you're not the first one to freak out from learning the truth." Sally's giving a good attempt at consoling her, but I would have been more selective with my words. That's just me being picky, though. Dealing with sensitive people all my life has taught me to use a certain approach when speaking to people. Especially in the state that Jasmine is in. I never thought I'd ever meet you too many NPCs of Gaia, I'm a beacon of hope. Knowing that I exist among them brings a feeling of safety for them. At least, I think that's the case. Sally looks at me and wants me to say something in return. This means a lot to Jasmine, and Sally doesn't want me to disappoint her. You've impressed me, Jasmine, you've even made me proud. She looks up from Sally's chest with red puffy eyes. Both Sally and Jasmine are waiting for me to continue. Speeches aren't really my thing, but I know how to tell people the truth. You've had a life harder than everyone I know except for one. My eyes meet Sally's as I say that. They've lived a mirrored life. Many would have given up, or worse, you fought and kept fighting. There are only a handful of people that can say they have such a will. They both have wills greater than anyone I've met. It inspires me to be better than who I was, who I still am. If they can do this after everything, there isn't a reason I shouldn't either. Thank you. Her face scrunches up, and she starts crying harder than before. I look at Sally to make sure I did this right, and she just smiles and nods her head. I know how to read people, but reading distraught people isn't my thing. It feels wrong to try and dissect someone mentally that's going through such a hard time, hence why I don't do it and why I'm bad at it. I'm going to talk with Haley. There are some things we need to discuss before Helda and Melimora get here. Sally nods as Jasmine continues crying, but she's slowly calming down. POV, Salyandra Orvalo. Location, temporary home, border city. Time, 7:23. She's slowly calming down and isn't wailing into my chest anymore. My fingers run through her hair and I gently scratch her scalp. You know, Slayer Zirn is Sarah's name here on Gaia. Has Haley explained how the new people work to you yet? She shakes her head and looks down at the ground. When you get a chance, ask her. After Sarah explained everything to me, I understood. I've also put some things together myself. She dries her eyes again and I see a bit of myself in Jasmine, more than a bit. When I was her age, I was similar, lost in the fog of life of a former slave. He's different than I thought he'd be. I expected something more godly. She's yet to see him fight and the extent of his power. Her face flushes red and she twiddles her fingers in circles. So you've slept with him now? My face is becoming flush. To many, I'd be considered the luckiest woman in all of Gaia. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. It's a natural deduction to have after seeing what we've been through. It makes sense, though that's confusing to me. She smiles as she sees my confused look. It makes sense that only an angel would see past what either of us used to be, except us wholly. Regardless, I'm jealous. Sally, he might be the only one that can see past the bad things. She's thinking the same way I used to. Finding someone that does see past it, it's hard, but they're out there. I'm not so cynical anymore. A/N, below this line, I'll be keeping Sarah's player information. That way, I won't have to place it into the story above anymore. It takes about 180 words up. Slayer, Zirn, level 193. EXP, 3/100%. Title, The Son of Archangel Michael, Hidden. Stats: Strength 7095, Endurance 7045, Dexterity 7215, Speed 8240, Focus 19660. Mana Aura Control, 6/100%. Health, 76,560, million/76,560, million. Mana, 216,600, million/216,600, million. Stat points, 30. Armor rating, 500. Inventory: Dice of Wayland, Divine, Hardened Tree Sap Armor, Very Rare, The Witness, Legendary Sword, Fenrir's Whistle, Divine, Sally's Dresses 5x Camping Gear, Food Rations 4x Dried Meat 4x Fishing Poles 2x Fish 8x Festival Garbs 2x. Passive perks: Inheritor of the Sword, Son of Heaven, Slayer of Evil, Holy Willow Trees, Savior, Finder of Legends, the Divine who has legend, destined for greatness, Dungeon Diver and Overachiever. Active skills: Heaven's Light level 59 325/5900 protected by Heaven level 59 225/5900 level 77 4600/130000 parry level 5380/5300 double strike and /a King Slayer and /a Raging Machine and /a Winged Glory Angelic Flight Divine Pressure Exertion Divinity Pulse Controlled Fun. Chapter 333 Crossing the Border 2. They won't like how long it'll take to traverse to the actual spot where we'll cross. Going over the wall isn't an option. The magical barrier produced by the border wall prevents anyone from coming in that way. Getting through the actual wall has happened before, but only on really old sections of the massive border. Going under is the best option. There are only a few places along the border where the ground is soft enough, and the border wall isn't that deep into the ground. We're heading for one of my scarcely traveled paths. The Elven Kingdom's authorities have been finding some of my more frequent routes. Nothing stays hidden forever, and that applies to everyone. My contacts are in places, and all the right people have been bribed. Once I get them into the Elven Kingdom, I'll get my legacy dagger. Helda, when are we leaving? They're probably already up and waiting for us. Melimora has a problem dealing with new customers, and I do too. This has a lot of ways going bad, and most of them are for Meli and me. All this planning has been done to prevent the worst outcomes from happening, but there are still some bad ones. We'll leave at exactly 8 AM. I need to focus my thoughts and go over everything in my head. I suggest you do the same, Meli. The people we're dealing with are powerful on their own, but this Sarah, he's in a different league. His supposed sister, Haley, is also extremely powerful. I doubt she'd be able to straight up beat her brother, though. The feeling I get off him terrifies me. It makes me feel small compared to him. Should we care about why they're trying to cross the border? That Sarah can cause some serious damage if he wanted to. She brings up a brilliant point. One that I've been avoiding, and doing so because of my fears. I don't know, Meli. It'd be in our best interest not to dig into why they want into the Elven Kingdom. We don't want to know, plausible deniability and all. While what they do in the Elven Kingdom isn't my concern, my curiosity has officially peaked. They're not going for good and just reasons. No one who wants to get into the Elven Kingdom using my help ever has good intentions. They have incredibly powerful gear and are a tightly knit group of friends. Have you found anyone that can handle Sarah for the right price? We don't have the funds to have such a strong adventurer help us. Fighting them for the dagger is a last-ditch option, and if they refuse to give it to me after getting them across the border, the empires are keeping the S-class adventurers and higher on retainer. None are this far out and in our price range. As much as I hate it, we have to trust them. Trusting people isn't in our nature, and we're only doing this to get the dagger. We'll have to follow along the border to the west. I have a carriage that's willing to take us. It's not going to be cheap, but it's better than walking. When we do this, promise me we'll never break our rules again. I know how important the Photos dagger is to you, but it's not worth our lives. A part of me wants to say it is. How selfish of me. POV, Melimora. Location, Helda's private residence, Border City. Time, 7:53 AM. Her silence speaks volumes to her. This dagger is worth dying for. After this mission, I'm going to have to take some time to think about things. You wouldn't understand how much this dagger means to me, Meli. It's all I have left of my family. She doesn't see me like family. I guess she wouldn't. We're not blood related. It hurts way more than I thought it would. Staying in the same room as her will only show how much that hurt, so I leave and head to the bathroom. Once inside, I lean over the sink and look into the mirror. It's not a face that I like seeing sometimes. You're my family, Helda. Why don't you see me as a sister too? Salty and hot tears gild in the corner of my eyes and slowly start to fall. My life has been one that always followed behind Helda. We've been business partners and friends for centuries. She's willing to risk it all for some stupid dagger. We might be done working together after this. The thought of leaving her doesn't upset me as much as I thought it would, as much as I want it to. What does that say? Isn't that an answer? Blaming Sarah and his group does me no good. Somewhere deep inside, I knew this day would eventually come. Helda considers me a friend, not as family. Time to put on your poker face, Melly, you've got a tough road ahead. This job is likely my last with Helda. I better make it worthwhile, give a good ending to the chapter we've shared. My eyes dry up, and I wash my face and eyes to get rid of the crying look. Now that I'm all good, I leave the bathroom and head back to Helda. I enter the living room, and she's putting on the last of her gear and getting ready. Since you're already dressed and prepared for the trip, you have to wait for me. She speaks, but her words go through me. POV, Sarah Adamo. Location, temporary home, Border City. Time, 8:02 a.m. Sally and Haley continue talking in the run-down kitchen. They've left Jasmine with me. She's more uncomfortable around me now. Knowing who I am. You know I'm still the same person. The blood in my veins doesn't make me any different. She looks towards the ground after I try to start some dialogue with her. She slowly raises her head and sees that I'm still looking at her and waiting for her to talk. She takes a calming breath and straightens out her hair, and tries to gather some courage. What's it like? My confusion is obvious on my face. You know, to fly, that's one way to try and get past this awkward barrier. She, and many others, have never flown before. It's a rare ability on Gaia. Only certain creatures and magics allow you to fly. It's the most freeing feeling in the world. Nothing compares to seeing the world pass below you as you fly at 400 plus mph. She smiles lightly, and I think it's a good sign. Haley and Sally have both flown with me before. Haley had a rough time flying over that massive ocean. She's probably airsick after that whole ordeal, but she was a real trooper. If I asked, would you mind taking me on a flight in the future, she's becoming more comfortable and casual now, and these are leaps in progress. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have even suggested that, and the progress is torn away by her fear and hesitation. When people learn about me, they all act like they're of a lower status than me. Gaia's laws and ways may say that, but I don't. I'm still half human. I want you to consider something, Jasmine. She lowers her head, thinking she's done something wrong. I'm still half human. Her head shoots up, and she looks at me with wide eyes. From her reaction, I don't think that ever crossed her mind. Everyone only focuses on the angel blood in me, not the other human half. If people recognized it, it'd make my life easier. Okay, I'll try my best to remember that. I don't see the difficulty in remembering that. There are probably many factors that I can't see. Since I'm who I am. A/N, below this line, I'll be keeping Sarah's player information. That way, I won't have to place it into the story above anymore. It takes about 180 words up. Slayer, Zirn, level 193. EXP, 3/100%. Title, The Son of Archangel Michael, Hidden. Stats: Strength 7095, Endurance 7045, Dexterity 7215, Speed 8240, Focus 19660. Mana Aura Control, 6/100%. Health, 76,560, million/76,560, million. Mana, 216,600, million/216,600, million. Stat points, 30. Armor rating, 500. Inventory: Dice of Wayland, Divine, Hardened Tree Sap Armor, Very Rare, The Witness, Legendary Sword, Fenrir's Whistle, Divine, Sally's Dresses 5x, Camping Gear, Food Rations 4x, Dried Meat 4x, Fishing Poles 2x, Fish 8x, Festival Garbs 2x. Passive perks: Inheritor of the Sword, Son of Heaven, Slayer of Evil, Holy Willow Trees, Savior, Finder of Legends, the Divine who has legend, destined for greatness, Dungeon Diver, and Overachiever. Active skills: Heaven's Light level 59 325/5900, Protected by Heaven level 59 225/5900 level .77 4600/130000, Parry level 5380/5300, Double Strike /A King Slayer /A Raging Machine /A Winged Glory, Angelic Flight, Divine Pressure, Exertion, Divinity Pulse, Controlled Fun. Chapter 334 Getting on the Carriage. Sally and I watch as Sarah and Jasmine talk. I'm glad he's putting in extra effort to see that she's alright. Jasmine's had a shocking revelation to the identity that Sarah keeps for the NPCs of Gaia. There are only a few NPCs that know his real name. Sally and Jasmine are two of the four. Helda and Melimora know his real name, but not Slayer Zirn. Jasmine has a smile on her face and is laughing again. People think that Sarah is this figure that is above them all, but he doesn't like being looked at that way. It's not because he's humble, believe me. It's because he hates attention. He sees it as a real inconvenience. My soft whisper barely reaches Sally. I didn't intend for her to hear that. She stays silent and looks me in the eyes. She notices it too. Sarah is, well, for lack of a better term, a control freak. People getting in his business and treating him like a god gets in the way of his own lifestyle. He prefers the silence and solitude he used to have before his identity as Slayer Zirn was revealed. A lot of things have happened due to him being revealed. The Elven royal family wanting him to marry and have children with one of their princesses is a perfect example of getting in the way. It's like the saying, you can stick a hat and shirt on a monkey. In the end, it's still a monkey. You're not changing the monkey, and Sarah is the monkey in this scenario. He won't change cause he can't go against his nature. There is something hardwired into him, a mechanism that I can't fully describe. The best I can do is he has an instinct that he listens to when the situation calls for it. He doesn't want to be tamed. He's pretty rigid when it comes to interacting with people. I've seen him fake being this benevolent angel back in Zenith that sounds exactly like him. He's great at manipulating situations to his benefit, and that was one of them. Sally has seen more of him than I thought she would. He's not malicious with his gifts of deceit and manipulation. He uses them to pass through situations that are unfavorable in the endgame of his plans. He's always 12 moves ahead. It drives me crazy. That's a bit of an exaggeration. Before we can continue talking, a knock at the door is heard, and Sarah gets up to answer it. The door gently opens and reveals Helda and Melimora. I was wondering when you two were going to show up. You run into any problems preparing for the crossing? While it's small talk on the surface, I can see what he's really up to with that question. Helda and Melimora also see the true meaning behind it. Let us handle the details and problems with the crossing. All you guys have to do is relax until we reach our destination along the border. We're heading west in a carriage, and it's about a 2-day trip. Sarah folds his arms and squints his eyes slightly, but I know he's not going to argue about it. There is nothing to argue, the plan sounds fine, and they know what they're doing. They're not going to risk losing out on the dagger, and Sarah knows that. Helda and Melimora also know that it's a complex game of strategic moves and careful wording. Okay, where this carriage you speak of? Helda moves out of the way and waves her hand. A large carriage comes rolling down the road and stopping in front of the place we're staying at for the time being. It's definitely big enough for all of us. I take it by the size. You're riding in the cabin with us, wanting to keep an eye to make sure we don't pull a fast one. Melimora flinches in the slightest way, but she regains herself quickly. Helda nods her head a single time and starts walking towards the carriage. Let's get a move on. The longer this takes, the more risk there is we get caught. We already have everything, and I follow behind Sarah, who's following behind Helda. Sally is walking at his side, and Jasmine is at mine. Jasmine's smart enough to know that talking about Sarah is bad. Especially around Helda and Melimora. The less they know about all of us and our powerful abilities, the better. We all load into the carriage, and the carriage starts driving on its own. Magically enchanted for sure. No driver and some horses made out of wood. NPCs refer to such objects as puppets. Just forms that can be manipulated by magic. There's a tense silence, and it's between Sarah and Helda. They are glaring at one another, and Sarah's calm grin does not affect the poker face of Helda. I'd ask you to tell me something about yourself, but I already know the answer to that. Mind if I ask you something specific instead? Her gaze hardens, and her hands clench. Sarah is too good at getting into people's heads and reading everything too perfectly. I'd rather you didn't. This is a business transaction. Not a trip with friends and family. She's quick to draw a line in the sand, and Sarah got exactly what he wanted. A limit to how far he knows he can push Helda. He knows her position on this deal now too. She believes it to be a business transaction, and she's right. It is, but it's a very personal and important business transaction. Fair enough, I won't ask anything about you. How about you, Melimora? Do you mind if I ask you a question? Before Melimora can scowl and shut him down, Helda holds out her arm and stops Melimora before she does anything. Sarah is refusing to look Helda in the eyes and only looking into Melimora's. You really let her speak for you? I can see why. You're both scared of what I'll find out. Rest assured, my secrets are much bigger than yours. I know when to stop. Sarah leans back and lays his head on Sally's shoulder, closing his eyes and checkmating the conversation. POV, Helda Vora. Location, Carriage, leaving Border City. Time, 8:23 a.m. Damn it. If I weren't sure he was a powerful fighter, I'd say he's some noble that's too good with words and reading people. His true intentions were to drive a wedge between Melly and me. We both already know he has secrets, and it's obvious on skeptical we are. Meaning the whole point of that conversation was to divide. Melimora and I are close, but we've had our problems in the past before. He saw that from the first moment we interacted with him. I shut her down, and I dominate negotiations. She has little voice in anything we do, and he's using that. Out of all the people I've smuggled across the border and all the friends I've made doing so, he's the one I'm going to hate after he's gone. Never again am I breaking our rule. Only close friends are allowed to use my services. Sarah, do you think we can stop for some food before we leave? My attention is dragged out of my thoughts, and I look at the youngest in their group. They haven't eaten breakfast yet. This Jasmine, it's going to make things inconvenient. I know she will. Sarah opens one eye and looks at me, and I can't tell what he's thinking. I don't know, Jasmine. Helda and Melimora might have already prepared rations for the trip. He's doing it again. Using the situation to find out more about us. What we've brought, what we didn't bring. How prepared we are. He can find all this out from Jasmine's innocent questions. A/N, below this line, I'll be keeping Sarah's player information. That way, I won't have to place it into the story above anymore. It takes about 180 words up. Slayer, Zirn, level 193. EXP, 3/100%. Title, The Son of Archangel Michael, Hidden. Stats: Strength 7095, Endurance 7045, Dexterity 7215, Speed 8240, Focus 19660. Mana Aura Control, 6/100%. Health, 76,560, million/76,560, million. Mana, 216,600, million/216,600, million. Stat points, 30. Armor rating, 500. Inventory: Dice of Wayland, Divine, Hardened Tree Sap Armor, very rare, The Witness, Legendary Sword, Fenrir's Whistle, Divine, Sally's Dresses 5x Camping Gear, Food Rations 4x Dried Meat 4x Fishing Poles 2x Fish 8x Festival Garbs 2x. Passive perks: Inheritor of the Sword, Son of Heaven, Slayer of Evil, Holy Willow Trees, Savior, Finder of Legends, the Divine who has legend, destined for greatness, Dungeon Diver, and Overachiever. Active skills: Heaven's Light level 59 325/5900, Protected by Heaven level 59 225/5900 level .77 4600/1300000, Parry level 5380/5300, Double Strike /A King Slayer /A Raging Machine /A Winged Glory, Angelic Flight, Divine Pressure, Exertion, Divinity Pulse, Controlled Fun. Chapter 335 Uncomfortable Ride. Jasmine doesn't know how much she's helped me with all the innocent questions she's asked. The insights I've gained about Helda and Melimora tell me things that I didn't know from the first time we met them. They're staying quiet out of fear that I'll learn more. I can't force them to talk, and that means it's a waiting game again. Helda is the one I've learned the most about. She's a cautious woman and prefers silence over anything else. It's obvious I like the same thing, and because of that, I know that she must think similarly to what I think. She's methodical and disciplined. She's extremely calm on the surface, but she has things bothering her beneath the exterior. The same way my problems affect me. Never show weakness. That's how we are. It's like staring into a mirror of myself. That isn't a guy. Knowing that I'm seeing a version of myself also tells me she's trying to figure out anything she can about me too. It's layers and layers of mental games. Luckily for me, I love mental games. Meaning she must like them too, which makes her a dangerous opponent that shouldn't be underestimated. Underestimating your opponent is what leads to your ultimate failure. We're not enemies yet. I know she's made plans cause I would have done so in her situation. No way in hell will I trust a stranger that has something I desperately want and need, and they know that. She's not trusting me, which is the smart and correct strategic decision. I've come to admire her in the last couple of hours. The empty road along the border and the quiet that's in the carriage have helped me see things I couldn't before. You hate the Elven royal family, don't you? My sudden question towards Helda causes no reaction, but I know more is happening beneath her cool surface. She must hate the royal family. Having her as an enemy isn't what I want, and we have every intention to give her the dagger once we're across the border. If she hates the royal family, maybe I can get some help in our mission. You don't have to answer that. I understand that more than you think. She gives no physical reaction, but no righteous elf would do what she does for a living. She's breaking plenty of laws doing what she does for a living, and she's doing it in defiance of the royal family. She's a pure-blooded elf, and she wouldn't suffer from discrimination. Leaving only a few reasons on the table. The first is that she hates the elven society and cares little for what happens to her homeland. This is the most likely, in my opinion. The second one would be she's only doing it for the money, but since she's similar to me, that's the least likely. She's not of low moral character that is driven by such a goal. The third being she was raised in this lifestyle and knows nothing else. This is possible, and it could be combined with the first reason. I can't know any of this for sure. She's lived a long and complicated life. She is nearly 3 times as old as Sally, and she's seen a lot in the world. Maybe the 3 reasons I've come up with are completely and totally wrong. The few interactions we've had can't give me nearly enough for me to know every little detail about her. Only a few things are on the surface and are easy to get to. Her secrets are hers. I'm not trying to get to the core of her. Sally places her hand on top of mine, and my eyes meet hers as my head turns. I need to use the bathroom. Can we pull over so I can? She doesn't need to ask me for permission to use the bathroom, but she probably feels Helda would make those decisions and is too afraid to ask her, which deludes into her making me a conduit for the question. My attention turns to Helda, and she sighs. Stopping the magical carriage with the snap of her finger. I suggest that everyone that needs to use the bathroom do it now. The fewer stops we have to make, the better. Melimora speaks the most she has since we started this trip. Not that it's anything important to note, but I can't be sure. Melimora is harder to get to know since Helda is making sure she doesn't speak or interact. Thanks, I didn't know how much longer I could hold it. Sally is the first one out the door, and Haley and Jasmine follow her out so they can use the bathroom too. Leaving me with Helda and Melimora. There is a tense feeling in the air now that we're alone. Helda and Melimora stare at me harder than they ever have before. This is new, and they do it once all my friends are gone. Meaning that they're trying to determine if I'm any weaker mentally when I'm alone or not. I'd be more scared of fighting with them next to me than away from me. That's what you're trying to find out, right? For the first time, I see Helda grit her teeth. My deduction was spot on if this is the reaction I get, and it proves that I'm doing better getting in her head than she is getting into mine. How about we don't talk for the remainder of this trip? I don't like you, Sarah. I don't want to speak to you, and I don't want you speaking to me. Prickly confrontation, but I've handled similar situations before. Sally and the other two won't be back for a couple of minutes, and that gives me ample time to dig around for some more information. Okay, I won't speak to you, Helda. How about I talk to Melimora? She seems like she wants to get a few things off her chest. I'm just firing into the dark with that statement, but they have some issues between them. I saw it earlier. POV, Melimora. Location, Carriage, on the road to Helda's destination. Time, 10:49 a.m. His mind games are starting to get on my nerves. He's good at saying and doing the right thing at the right moment. It makes me wonder how he became so good at this. He doesn't look older than 20, and he's talking like he's done this for the vast majority of his life. I stand that same ground as Helda. There is no need to make the answer any longer than that. The way his grin slowly pops on his face makes me want to smack it off. Figures, here I thought you two were partners in this business. From what I've seen, you're just doing everything Helda tells you. Like a puppet and her the one pulling your strings. He's not going to turn me against her. His observation is right, though. I'd never betray Helda, but I'm tired of my role. It's the reason I'm leaving her and this job after this job. I'm tired of being a mindless and opinionless partner. You'll stop playing the mind games you're playing. If you won't, we'll cancel this job and leave you here in this carriage while we leave back to Border City. Helda immediately takes out the big guns, but Sarah is smart enough to know it's a bluff. Helda's lust for the dagger would never make her abandon this job, but Sarah does something I can only consider an extremely calculated move. Fair enough, I'll stop. From what we've both experienced, he'd push the subject just a little more. Now, he's backing off? That doesn't go with any of his behavior to this point. He's playing another angle here. A/N, below this line, I'll be keeping Sarah's player information. That way, I won't have to place it into the story above anymore. It takes about 180 words up. Slayer, Zirn, level 193. EXP, 3/100%. Title, The Son of Archangel Michael, Hidden. Stats: Strength 7095, Endurance 7045, Dexterity 7215, Speed 8240, Focus 19660. Mana Aura Control, 6/100%. Health, 76,560 million/76,560 million. Mana, 216,600 million/216,600 million. Stat points, 30. Armor rating, 500. Inventory: Dice of Wayland, Divine, Hardened Tree Sap Armor, Very Rare, The Witness, Legendary Sword, Fenrir's Whistle, Divine, Sally's Dresses 5x Camping Gear, Food Rations 4x Dried Meat 4x Fishing Poles 2x Fish 8x Festival Garbs 2x. Passive perks. Inheritor of the Sword, Son of Heaven, Slayer of Evil, Holy Willow Trees, Savior, Finder of Legends, the Divine who has legend destined for greatness, Dungeon Diver and Overachiever. Active skills. Heaven's Light level 59 325/5900, Protected by Heaven level 59 225/5900 level 77 4600/1300000, Parry level 5380/5300, Double Strike /A King Slayer /A Raging Machine /A Winged Glory, Angelic Flight, Divine Pressure, Exertion, Divinity Pulse, Controlled Fun. Chapter 336, Unseen Conflict. Today has been unnecessarily stressful, and it's supposed to be a time that I can relax and recharge before we invade the monster horde's territory. Apparently, we've had spies in our ranks of the church, and now we're going through everyone and making sure no other spies are hiding. Alexander is absolutely livid with this entire situation. Our enemies were hiding right in front of us, and we couldn't see them. Normally, I'd be on a warpath right now. The reason I'm not is cause I need this break. Alexander said that he and the rest of the verified officials would handle it. I need my rest before heading back out into combat. All of our forces are getting rest, and the Adventurers Guild is helping protect the resettling townspeople. It wasn't cheap, but it's not like the church has or will have money problems. Sometimes, I wish that this was someone else's responsibility. The comfortable chair that's magically heated and helps my muscles is causing my body to be like jelly. The damage that I received from all the fights during our last expedition has come for their piece of me. Ignoring them with magic and sheer will was my only option at the time. Now it's simply here making me ache. The chair is helping, but I'm going to soak in another magically enhanced bath in a couple of hours. Saintess Lucy, why did you give me this power? Archangel Gabriel, she blessed me with power at birth, but now I'm wondering what the purpose was. Am I supposed to serve the church and have no free will of my own? What about my dreams and desires? How come I was forsaken from normal life? Why did you choose me to carry this burden? Millions would argue that it isn't a burden, and they'd die a horrible death over and over to have a similar life. It's not as great as many say it is. My mother, I haven't spoken to her in years. I wonder how she's doing. The last memory I have of her was her giving me up to the church. She cried endlessly that day. I want to see her again, no matter where she is or how hard it's going to be to find her. I want to see my mother. Maybe she'll have some answers to the questions I have. The church has provided me everything that I've ever needed, but what every child needs is the guidance of at least one of their parents. My knowledge about my father is non-existent, and I wonder who he was too. The little bit of time I remember with Mom, Dad never came up when we talked. She always avoided the subject, and it makes me worried now. Having the knowledge of the cruelty of the world, I can't help thinking I'm the product of a terrible act. Most beautiful women aren't safe, and I remember Mom being so beautiful. Tomorrow, I'm going to look and see if the church has her record information. They'd know more than anything I would. She's an important figure, just like Amelia Zirn is. Location: Adventurers Guild, the Holy City. The prices they're demanding are more than outrageous, but it's not like I'm in any position to negotiate in any form or fashion. Now, Mr. Leopold, please sign the dotted line, and you'll lock in our services until the people who've lost their homes have resettled. You have my word. That's probably the only upside to working with the Adventurers Guild. They hold up their word and stand by every contract they make. Large or small, and they know that's something you won't find in another private organization. I know, Vero. Just remember, those people need protection until this war with the monster horde is over. Vero is the head of the branch in the Holy City. He's an SSS class adventurer. He wields a legendary class himself, and he's one of several in the Adventurers Guild. The amount of power they have blows me away sometimes. The only way the church will compete with them is through the artifacts and treasures that we have. Of course, Mr. Pope. We keep people safe and secure for the right price. While I hate the way they do business, I do appreciate how transparent they are with their desires. They never beat around the bush, and that saves me a colossal headache. Yes, Vora. I know all about the price. It'll be paid. I can guarantee you that. The church has funds that are used in the chance something like this might happen. We do have an Adventurers Guild fund, just for this occasion. A place where we store a portion of the church's income for the demands of the Adventurers Guild in case we ever need them. It's the second largest fund on our books. I take the pen and sign my name on the paper and slide it across the table. Vora picks up the paper and takes it over to a file cabinet and stores it. He turns and smiles at me. Not a cocky or arrogant smile, but one that indicates satisfaction that a business deal has been done in favor of the Adventurers Guild. I'll inform the members that are already out on the field and doing their jobs that a change of plans has occurred. Congratulations, Mr. Pope. You've just won the safety of the innocent. His smile turns to a grin as he approaches. His hand is outstretched for a handshake, and I do the polite and courteous thing. After shaking his hand, I turn and leave his office. That's one problem that I don't have to worry about anymore. It's a good thing that everything has gone this smoothly since the unrooting of spies within the church. When I learned of this news, I saw red for an entire day. Location: Palace, Zenith City. The nobles are in a state of anger, but they can't voice it no matter how badly they want to. Amelia is taking the majority of the land that was won in the war with Belvia. This is the easiest solution for my people. Every citizen below the noble rank highly respects and cherishes Amelia. There are millions of citizens lining up to help her develop the land. The massive hall is silent as all the nobles are aligned in the room, waiting for me to speak, and holding in their anger. I know that most of you are upset at the loss of a great land. Amelia is an important person to our kingdom, more important than even me. Everyone lowers their heads, knowing that my words are true. She isn't here, right now. She on her property, she keeps to herself. She's agreed to take the land and has accepted help from the kingdom and our people. She's our critical link to Slayer Zirn. Without her he'll no longer be affiliated with us. Having her take this land means ensuring her stay and loyalty to Zenith, and securing a connection to Slayer Zirn for the future. Some of my more richer and arrogant nobles decide to step out of the lines of nobles and make an approach to the throne. They stand in a line, 4 of them are looking to speak. I nod my head and the middle one takes a breath. Duke Parker, a brilliant merchant. While we understand and accept the strategic decision of this move, we all lost forces in this war. They're not wrong. I have no intention of my nobles going unrewarded for giving up as many soldiers that were needed for this war. You bring up an excellent point, Parker. That's why I'm cutting the taxes that all nobles have to pay the crown by 60%. Many shoot their heads up at my words. This will endure a 5-year period. This is more than generous, and I can see the happy faces already. A/N, below this line, I'll be keeping Sarah's player information. That way, I won't have to place it into the story above anymore. It takes about 180 words up. Slayer, Zirn, level 193. EXP, 3/100%. Title, The Son of Archangel Michael, hidden. Stats: Strength 7095, Endurance 7045, Dexterity 7215, Speed 8240, Focus 19660. Mana Aura Control, 6/100%. Health, 76,560, million/76,560 million. Mana, 216,600 million/216,600 million. Stat points, 30. Armor rating, 500. Inventory: Dice of Wayland, Divine, Hardened Tree Sap Armor, very rare, The Witness, Legendary Sword, Fenrir's Whistle, Divine, Sally's Dresses 5x Camping Gear, Food Rations 4x Dried Meat 4x Fishing Poles 2x Fish 8x Festival Garbs 2x. Passive perks: Inheritor of the Sword, Son of Heaven, Slayer of Evil, Holy Willow Trees, Savior, Finder of Legends, the Divine who has legend destined for greatness, Dungeon Diver and Overachiever. Active skills: Heaven's Light level 59 325/5900, Protected by Heaven level 59 225/5900 level .77 4600/130000, Parry level 5380/5300, Double Strike and/a King Slayer and/a Raging Machine and/a Winged Glory, Angelic Flight, Divine Pressure, Exertion, Divinity Pulse, Controlled Fun. Chapter 337, Greater Responsibility. My life of relaxation is ending, and I couldn't be happier. I've been going bonkers in my own skin. I've only known the life of a hard worker, and living the life I have now makes me feel like I'm doing nothing productive. Lady Zirn, shall I prepare the nightly bath? George does such a great job taking care of the kids. It's his turn for a break. The chair rattles slightly as I stand up from it, and I look at him. No, you go and take some time to rest. You and the rest of the employees have been invaluable in helping me raise the kids. Normally, George and the rest of the people working at the mansion would be called servants. I will never refer to them that way, and I even pay them all a wage for their hard work. George lowers his head and exits my office. He's learned that when I make up my mind, I'm not going to change it. The door gently shuts, and I look at the stacks of paperwork on my desk. Most of it is unions and workforces offering their services to help develop the land. Even the poor have formed a union. Millions from all over the kingdom are heading here. The capital has begun to reach maximum occupancy, and Jackson says the sooner I decide to get started on this, the sooner the city will be freed up. He had a meeting with the rest of the nobles today, and I'm grateful he doesn't make me go to those. My eyes move from the papers on the desk and look out towards the window and the setting sun. We've got about an hour and a half before all daylight is gone, and the temperature drops. The kids are hoping that my son will come back soon. They want to go for a ride in the sky, and I don't blame them. I haven't answered their request cause I don't know the next time I see my boy. The thought of not seeing him anytime soon hurts me greatly. Knowing that he's safe helps a little, and having the orphans fill the gap in my heart in a way keeps the tears at bay. He's grown powerful and independent since I lost him at birth, and now I'm wondering where and when he'll pop up next in the world. There are usually rumors on where he's at. I haven't heard anything since the city of James. Some pretty dark things went down there, but I couldn't be more proud of my son. Sally and my son destroyed a powerful family of slavers and criminals by the sounds of the reports. He has a good sense of right and wrong, but I notice contradictories in him. He's a gentle and forgiving man sometimes, and for others, he's a brutal killer. I've heard and seen him have no regard for life, be them a bandit, a noble, or even a king and his court. I can't help feeling that his mind is twisted in a way that he lies to himself and tries to rationalize his decisions. Makes me wonder what my son has been through in his life. What made you this way? Seeing him in that state breaks my heart. I'm glad he has Sally cause he needs someone that loves him and he loves. The way he acts makes me wonder if he's all there mentally. People who suffer great losses lose something in themselves. I know what that's like. He's his own man now, and I can't stop anything he does. I hope that he thinks before he acts cause his choices will get him into trouble. Tessa slowly rubs her finger in a circle on my chest. We're both silent and looking at the ceiling. Do you think Amelia is ready for this? Developing that much land is going to take years, and even with all the help she's getting, it won't be easy. Tessa isn't afraid to speak what I'm thinking. I'm worried about Amelia, and I'm worried about her safety. People are coming from all over the kingdom, even people are coming from outside my lands. Not all their intentions are pure, and Amelia tends to trust easily. People might use her to get close to Slayer's ear. I don't know, Tessa, she has everything she needs, but this is an incredible undertaking. My problems have been cut in half now that the nobles are happy. She's also an important figure for the church. If I asked the church to help with her security during the development, maybe they're so busy with the war, though they can't spare the extra forces to help Amelia in her task. Why don't we hire some help from an independent organization? The Mercenaries Guild sounds perfect for the job. Tessa makes a great point. That has problems in of itself that put new dangers ahead of Amelia. The Mercenaries Guild and other independent organizations like it are double-edged blades. There is an equal number of disadvantages as there are advantages. My guidance can't help Amelia since I don't even know what to do. Some king I am guidance. Guidance. That's the key. Tessa lets out a little squeal as I jump out of bed and head over to my office. Still in my nightwear. Guidance is what Amelia needs, and I know just the person that can help her. And me. Jackson. Come back to bed this instant. A hard shiver goes up my spine as I hear Tessa's voice from down the hall. That was a bad move on my part. This can wait until tomorrow morning. The fear I have at an angry wife is greater than doing this right now. I leave my office, and I look down the hall towards my bedroom. I see my wife and queen standing in the hall, in her nightwear too. She's much more beautiful in her clothes. Her arms are folded, and she's glaring at me with the power to crack a stone. The blizzard raging outside is something I've never seen before. Snow only existed in certain places on Earth. The magically heated tent is doing wonders for us. Mom, how much longer until we get to where we need to go? Marcus has been having a hard time. He doesn't like the cold, and that makes sense because he has a legendary fire magic class. The Phoenix has great power, and I had to stop Marcus from using his magic to stop the snow and blizzard. I don't want to do unnecessary damage to the environment. I don't know how that works here. It'll be about a day's walk once we get up tomorrow. The players in the town said the storm stopped during the day. He folds his arms together and gives a cute pout. Chris wraps an arm around Marcus and hugs him. It's okay, Marcus, remember, we're doing this to find Sarah and Haley. Don't you want to find them? Marcus slowly nods his head and tries his best not to be in a sour mood. It's cute at this age. I'm hoping there won't be as much trouble as when Haley was growing into her pre-teens. So far, he's turning out to be like Sarah. Marcus sits up and lifts his hands together. He creates a fire flower using his control over fire. He's gotten a lot better at it since he first started. He explained that the class makes him do it to refine his control. Do you think they'll be easy to track down? From the magical device, they're on the move again. Marcus hears Chris's whisper and turns to us in frustration. A/N, below this line, I'll be keeping Sarah's player information. That way, I won't have to place it into the story above anymore. It takes about 180 words up. Slayer, Zirn, level 193. EXP, 3/100%. Title, The Son of Archangel Michael, Hidden. Stats: Strength 7095, Endurance 7045, Dexterity 7215, Speed 8240, Focus 19660. Mana Aura Control, 6/100%. Health, 76,560 million/76,560 million. Mana, 216,600 million/216,600 million. Stat points, 30. Armor rating, 500. Inventory: Dice of Wayland, Divine, Hardened Tree Sap Armor, Very Rare, The Witness, Legendary Sword, Fenrir's Whistle, Divine, Sally's Dresses 5x, Camping Gear, Food Rations 4x, Dried Meat 4x, Fishing Poles 2x, Fish 8x, Festival Garbs 2x. Passive perks: Inheritor of the Sword, Son of Heaven, Slayer of Evil, Holy Willow Trees, Savior, Finder of Legends, the Divine who has legend, destined for greatness, Dungeon Diver, and Overachiever. Active skills: Heaven's Light level 59 325/5900, Protected by Heaven level 59 225/5900 level .77 4600/130000, Parry level 5380/5300, Double Strike and/a King Slayer and/a Raging Machine and/a Winged Glory, Angelic Flight, Divine Pressure, Exertion, Divinity Pulse, Controlled Fun. Chapter 338. The Second Day. Sally is sleeping on my shoulder, her blonde hair cascading down my chest piece. She's snuggled against me and has her body firmly against mine. Haley and Jasmine are using each other as something to sleep against. It's a funny looking way to sleep, if not a little painful. I look across the carriage and see Helda awake, and Melimora is sleeping. Melimora has surprised me. She's decided to sleep even though I'm sitting right across from them. It shows that she still trusts Helda greatly. The carriage is magically heated, keeping up warm as the cold morning is slowly warming up from the shine of Gaia's sun. My eyes shift towards the window opposite the wall's side, and I see the endless landscape. It continues for miles, mostly frost-covered treetops and snow-capped mountains in the distance. While the weather is very cold at the border wall, it doesn't snow here very often. From what I remember about the lore of Gaia, the elven people can ward off the climate with their magic. Personally, the earth could have used that. Too bad we didn't have magic. There are white fluffy clouds in the distance, slowly making their way towards the border walls. Sally shifts and squeezes her body against mine. Her legs find a way to wrap around my body. She wouldn't be doing this if she were awake. Her soft and supple figure is causing a reaction in my body, and I suppress it as fast as it arrives. If we were alone, I'd partake in her since she's so hard to resist. I'd make sure she was awake and was okay with it. My eyes move away from the window and my mind off of Sally. Helda has an unwavering gaze. Most would consider your staring rude, but I can appreciate how vigilant and careful you are. I'd do the same in your shoes. No reaction from the pure-blood elf. She's a famous smuggler only known for helping friends and acquaintances across the border. What we did to convince her to help was just short of blackmail, and I don't like being compared to a blackmailer. We could be friends. You look like you could use some more. My attempt at humor does not affect her, and her stoic face at my bad joke causes me to laugh. Seeing such a look on a beautiful elf is funny to me, not for the reasons you think. When I see Helda looking like this, I think of Sally making the same face. The thought of her positive and energetic personality making a face of stone-cold neutrality makes me laugh. Helda is a tough one to read, but I know almost all the things on the surface. There isn't very much to see on the surface if I'm being honest. She hides her feelings and opinions better than most I've met. You make me feel like I'm talking to a brick wall. Some feedback or interaction would be nice. It's not like we're going to betray you. We have no use for the stupid dagger. My eyes shift back to the window with a nice view as I finish talking. What I said was meant to draw out more information, not try and make friends. While that is a good idea, it's impractical with someone like Helda. I have no intention to betray her, and I'm trying to make this trip a little more bearable. I'm not going to take anything you say at face value, Sarah. You've proven to have a dangerous ability. She's referring to my talent in getting information. Inferring things from what people show me is helpful, but I wouldn't call it a talent. A skill that almost anyone can learn, and it makes me look much smarter than I actually am. I have above average intelligence, but that's where it ends. Having future knowledge is what makes me look like a genius. Put those together, and you have a near-perfect mask. Sally squeezes me in her arms and legs and grumbles words that I can't make out. My attention turns to her, and I kiss her on the forehead. That's a fair point, Helda. We're never going to be friends, and I can't see us working well as allies. Perhaps, in a different life, that could have been different. My mock at her rebuke doesn't go unnoticed. It's not a mock of say rudeness to make her mad, but one to show that I don't see her as a threat. She gets the underlined message. Her slight squint in her eyes tells me that. Your word games and attempts at unbalancing me are becoming annoying, Sarah. I'd request you to stop if I thought there was a chance you would. She infers that I'm vain and arrogant with that. In a sense, I'm both of those things. She has learned some things about me in the time we've spent talking to one another. As a great man once said, you can't hide everything. Sometimes, playing at one's own game can bring insights into yourself and your opponent. You're trying to play at my game, or was it your first? Her temples flex as she grits her teeth. I'm referring to the first time we met and who started this game first. It could be argued that we both started it simultaneously, but implying that she did will only benefit me. Having your weaknesses bore in front of your opponent shows how much you underestimate them. That's the downfall of many powerful people. My head darts at Helda, and my eyes harden. My threat to the lives of his loved ones doesn't slide over him, and that's what I was hoping for. It's obvious that it's not possible to kill a single one of them by myself. Still, his overreaction tells me that he's either extremely protective of his loved ones, or they're not as powerful as I originally thought, and both can be used to my advantage. My eyes shift to look at the elven beauty firm attached to him as her life depends on it. She's formed an incredible bond with Sarah, and elves are creatures that form powerful attachments to people and creatures they truly love. I'm only going to say this once, Helda, don't even think about touching them. If you try, nothing in this world will stop me. Finally, a reaction. A serious threat and one that carries weight, and this ensures something for me. I've gained an insight into Sarah too, and that insight is his loyalty and protectiveness over his loved ones. Willing to go to the absolute edge for them. I won't think about it if you won't think about doing the same to us. His reaction tells me nothing. No raised eyebrow, squinting eyes, anything to tell me. I'll take his silence and lack of reaction as an indication we have a deal. I've gained some ground in my dealings with him, and now I'm finally seeing into the man known as Sarah. I'll be glad to be rid of you once this contract is finished, and I know you can say the same. We should make this trip as quick as possible. My words cause most people in the carriage to stir awake. Sally slowly opens her eyes, but she refuses to let go of Sarah. Melly is slowly waking up and rubbing the gunk out of her eyes. The only two that are still sleeping are Haley and Jasmine. We can continue this conversation another time if you're up for it. The edge and anger in Sarah's voice tell me I've hit somewhere that hurts. A/N, below this line, I'll be keeping Sarah's player information. That way, I won't have to place it into the story above anymore. It takes about 180 words up. Slayer, Zirn, level 193. EXP, 3/100%. Title, The Son of Archangel Michael, Hidden. Stats: Strength 7095, Endurance 7045, Dexterity 7215, Speed 8240, Focus 19660. Mana Aura Control, 6/100%. Health, 76,560 million/76,560 million. Mana, 216,600 million/216,600 million. Stat points, 30. Armor rating, 500. Inventory: Dice of Wayland, Divine, Hardened Tree Sap Armor, Very Rare, The Witness, Legendary Sword, Fenrir's Whistle, Divine, Sally's Dresses 5x Camping Gear, Food Rations 4x Dried Meat 4x Fishing Poles 2x Fish 8x Festival Garbs 2x. Passive perks. Inheritor of the Sword, Son of Heaven, Slayer of Evil, Holy Willow Trees, Savior, Finder of Legends, the Divine who has legend destined for greatness, Dungeon Diver and Overachiever. Active skills. Heaven's Light level 59 325/5900, Protected by Heaven level 59 225/5900 level .77 4600/130000, Parry level 5380/5300, Double Strike and/a King Slayer and/a Raging Machine and/a Winged Glory, Angelic Flight, Divine Pressure, Exertion, Divinity Pulse, Controlled Fun. Chapter 339, Roadblock. The air in the carriage isn't as tense now that everyone is awake. Haley and Jasmine are silent and are both looking out the window with the view. Sally is sitting next to me and nervously watching Melimora and Helda as they stare right back at me. Threatening my friends and loved ones is something I take seriously. I don't care if she got any information about me from my reaction. There are certain lines you don't cross, and Helda doesn't abide by those unwritten rules. That makes her all the more dangerous, in my opinion. Helda raises her head in concern and looks out the window that shows the road ahead. I match her action, and my eyes see the same thing she probably sensed. There is a group of human bandits blocking the road. My stomach twists in disgust, knowing what they're after. There is only one reason human bandits would be on the road so close to the Elven Kingdom's border. Slavers. As the words slowly exit my mouth, there is an immediate reaction from Jasmine and Sally. Given their history as ex-slaves, these twisted freaks are looking for elven women since they're probably a good sell. Helda stops the carriage with the wave of her hand, and we're about 65 feet away from the makeshift roadblock. Things can never be simple. Running into slavers on this route isn't uncommon normally, there wouldn't be this many, though. Helda starts whispering to Melimora, and she nods along with her. She turns towards the door, and it opens. Helda exits the carriage, and Melimora follows her, and I would help them if I didn't think they couldn't handle it. They've been doing the for longer than all of having been alive combined. Sally grips my hand and moves a bit closer. I wrap my arm around her and try my best to comfort her. She's a strong girl, with only a couple of weaknesses. Jasmine does the same with Haley, and that's when I have an idea. Do you two want to handle them? Haley looks at me with fury in her eyes, but it's not her decision. Sally faced her torturers back in the city of James and killed them brutally. While she's stronger for it, she knows that slavers took her mother. Judging by their expressions, they're thinking about it. Sally stands up and heads straight for the door, not asking me to come or anything of the sort. She's determined to face this demon from her past as well. I stand up to follow her out, and I step out onto the road. Helda and Melimora are up ahead, talking with the bandits. Separated by 30 feet and being careful. I fall in line behind Sally, and I hear another set of footsteps behind me. Jasmine is right on my tail, and Haley is getting out of the carriage to follow too. Talk about a large carriage. You got any more beautiful women in there? We need some for a payday. My anger slowly boils at the vile words. Helda and Melimora turn around to see us approaching, and we stand right behind them, and they both give a neutral reaction. My eyes scan over the group of criminals, and I can only imagine what my mother was feeling in a situation that's far worse than this one. She didn't have a group to help her to protect her. She suffered a far worse fate than I could bring myself to think about. We're willing to pay for a peaceful passing, but if you force our hands, nothing will save you. Helda's words are solid. She's standing strong, likely having dealt with a lot of this over the centuries. She's been smuggling people around and in the borders of the Elven Kingdom. Depends on how much you're offering. I can fetch a pretty penny for products like you, minus the mail, of course. My skin crawls at his words. Calling us products, like we're not living thinking beings. Before Helda can respond, Sarah steps forward and stands in front of Melimora and her. You're not leaving this road alive, and the ones that are going to kill you are people who've suffered at the hands of people like you. Helda is visibly angry, but Sarah ignores her. The leader of the group grits his teeth, and a large scowl appears on his face. There are around 30 of them, and most are wearing basic leather gear and carrying iron swords. The stronger ones are near the front, and they're wearing some decent armor and carrying some quality weapons. You've just sealed the fate of everyone you care about, kid. I'll make sure to take my time and teach them how it's done. His words make my vision slowly turn red. Sarah steps back, and I feel his hand land on my shoulder. I look at him, and he nods his head, and my resolve to kill them has been steeled. I step forward and draw my weapon, and I prepare to use some of my strongest attacks that my legacy grade class offers. They're going to suffer the pain of winter's wrath. The bandits slowly get ready for a fight, and the leader smiles. We're going to enjoy slaughtering your boyfriend and showing you what it's like to be with a real man. Before I can even think of a retort, a blur passes by me and closes the distance between our group and the bandits. Her blade slices through the man behind the leader, him barely dodging her attack. My rage-fueled attack causes the man I killed to fall to the ground dead, in 2 separate pieces. I can't contain it anymore. The fear that was there is now only replaced with a red-hot vengeance and thirst for their blood. I turn, and I see Sally already cutting through the other side of the group. She swings her sword with a purpose, the same purpose I have. To kill these men and inflict pain unto them as we do it. Wait. Wait. I've changed my min. My sword's sharp edge cuts through the leader's neck as his head is lopped off and thrown to the ground. The rest of the bandits are trying to make a quick escape into the forest now that their plan and leader has crumbled to nothing. Sally and I run side by side into the forest, hunting down the survivors. Cutting into the backs and their abdominal cavities. Their organs slowly spill on the ground as the bodies pile up. Don't stop until they're all dead. Sally screams out with a fury that I've never heard from her, and I can relate to her feelings. It's a hard thing, during their words after everything we've been through. The screams of the bandits echo through the woods and back to the road. My eyes stare at the piles of bodies on the road that are chopped up and displaced. Organs and blood are pooling, and my eyes shift to Sarah. He's staring out into the woods. If the weakest of their group are this strong, then I don't see any way to beat them in a straight-up fight. While I know I can beat Sally or Jasmine one-on-one, I know for a fact that I wouldn't come out unscathed. You just had to do that, didn't you? Sarah's sister, Haley, starts a conversation as she walks over and stands next to her brother. He doesn't respond, and she lets out a deep sigh. I suppose it's for the best. It's not like they didn't deserve it. I wonder how strong those two are. A/N, below this line, I'll be keeping Sarah's player information. That way, I won't have to place it into the story above anymore. It takes about 180 words up. Slayer, Zirn, level 193. EXP, 3/100%. Title, The Son of Archangel Michael, Hidden. Stats: Strength 7095, Endurance 7045, Dexterity 7215, Speed 8240, Focus 19660. Mana Aura Control, 6/100%. Health, 76,560 million/76,560 million. Mana, 216,600 million/216,600 million. Stat points: 30. Armor rating 500. Inventory: Dice of Wayland, Divine, Hardened Tree Sap Armor, Very Rare, The Witness, Legendary Sword, Fenrir's Whistle, Divine, Sally's Dresses 5x Camping Gear, Food Rations 4x Dried Meat 4x Fishing Poles 2x Fish 8x Festival Garbs 2x. Passive perks: Inheritor of the Sword, Son of Heaven, Slayer of Evil, Holy Willow Trees, Savior, Finder of Legends, the Divine who has legend, destined for greatness, Dungeon Diver, and Overachiever. Active skills: Heaven's Light level 59 325/5900, Protected by Heaven level 59 225/5900 level .77 4600/1300000, Parry level 5380/5300, Double Strike and /A King Slayer and /A Raging Machine and /A Winged Glory, Angelic Flight, Divine Pressure, Exertion, Divinity Pulse, Controlled Fun. Chapter 340. Some disagree. My eyes follow Sally and Jasmine as they walk out of the treeline. They're both dripping with blood that isn't their own. Both of them used some of their strongest skills to take out the group of bandits. The bodies of the ones that suffered those attacks are easy to pick out from the rest due to the damage dealt with their bodies. I'm proud of Sally and Jasmine. They channeled their fear and anger. Used it to kill parasites that prey on innocent people. We'll need to stop by a river or town so we can get them cleaned up. While I can clean their armor using my inventory, I can't clean their bodies. My words confuse Helda and Melimora since they don't know what an inventory is. The two warriors return to the group, and I can tell they are uncomfortable with the amount of blood covering them. Sarah, I'm blaming this on you. You could have reminded me that it was going to be dirty. Ugh. I hate this. Sally isn't happy with the condition she's in, but she's cute when she gets like this. It's not angry, a nice frustration. Haley shakes her head and turns back to the carriage, and Jasmine starts to follow her. Helda sticks out her arm and stops her. We'll need both of you cleaned up before we start moving again. Luckily for you two, I have a magic to help with this. Talk about convenient. I'd love to have magic that can clean me when I get all dirty and disgusting from fighting. Sally and Jasmine are both visibly happy at the notion they don't have to stay in this morbid state for long. Helda holds out her hand, and a blue light ignites from her fingertips a few seconds later. Sally and Jasmine are covered in the same blue light. After a good 5 seconds, the light disappears, and both of them are completely clean. Helda leaves towards the carriage, and Melimora follows her, and I'm left with Sally and Jasmine. I shrug my shoulders, and Sally rolls her eyes, and with that, we head back to the carriage ourselves. We enter and see Haley in her same spot, and we all take seats. The carriage can get through the roadblock without any trouble. It has repulsion magic. This carriage has everything. Makes me wonder what else the elven people have invented and have been using. I've never seen a carriage do all this. I've only heard rumors about what's inside the borders of the elven kingdom in my old life. We could have handled that situation without bloodshed, but I can't complain given who those men were. Haley is quick to voice her opinion. There was a better way to handle that, but Sally and Jasmine needed that. Sally has come a long way in getting to face the people who've done her wrong. I think vengeance is perfectly fine, and many would disagree with my stance on that if someone has committed an incredibly horrible deed against you and hasn't suffered consequences for it. You have every right to seek and commit revenge against that person or people. It's my opinion, and some would agree with it, and some are against it. When you've suffered years of slavery, torture, and sexual abuse, you can tell me not to feel the way I feel about these men, about wanting to slaughter them. My eyes shift towards the voice that isn't mine. Haley has no right to speak from a high horse, given she hasn't suffered at the hands of men like those bandits. Her eyes meet mine, and I can see the disbelief in them. I know that I'm considered the sweet and nice Sally, but there are some things that I will go out of my way to do. Defending my brutal actions against slavers is one of the things I'm going to defend. She doesn't know how to respond to my rebuttal, and her expression softens. You're right, Sally. I'm sorry that I said something like that. I don't have any right to cast any judgment on the actions taken against those men. Sarah lets out a small chuckle at Haley's apology, and I see frustration roar from her, along with an upset facial expression. She grits her teeth and stands up in the carriage, and moves in front of Sarah. What's so funny? Don't you agree with me? Sarah isn't laughing about the apology. I know Sarah, and he wouldn't do that. He's probably laughing at Haley, given that she isn't the type to apologize or admit she was wrong in some way. That might be what Sarah is finding funny. Sarah rolls his eyes and puts his hands up in mock surrender. Never thought you'd be one to show your belly so fast. The Haley that I know and grew up with wouldn't throw her opinion away no matter who she was talking to. You getting soft on us? Haley realizes what he was laughing about and is somehow more offended. She balls up her fist, and she uses all her willpower to resist hitting him. You're so lucky that there are other people here, Sarah. If there weren't, I'd give you a taste of the beatdowns I'd give you before you grew taller than me. He squints his eyes slightly with a smile, and it ticks Haley off more. He's winning, and everyone that can that. She sighs and relaxes her body, and my mind tries to imagine what they were like when they were kids. Sometimes, I wish I had a brother or sister, but knowing they'd have to suffer the same life I did makes that thought disappear as fast as it does appear. Relax, sister. I'm sure that no one's opinion of you has dropped. Haley does a good job ignoring him, and he ends it there. They are a family, and they act like one that's been close for a very long time. That's how Helda and I should act like this if she did consider me a sister, and since she doesn't act that way with me, it shows that she doesn't think of me as a sister. You two are more similar than either of you would admit. Sally is quick to try and bridge the two together after the show. Haley is completely ignoring the outside world and making sure that no one is bothering her for the time being. Don't worry, Sally. She'll get over it. We always do. It's part of our dynamic. Sarah speaks in an even and relaxed tone, and the talks die down. There is a misplaced and uncomfortable silence in the carriage now. The only one that seems to be enjoying the discomfort is Sarah, since he sees it as an opportunity to gain information. We'll be arriving at our destination by the morning after tomorrow at the latest. If we don't suffer any more interruptions, we'll get there by nightfall tomorrow. Helda knows these roads and how long it takes to travel them better than anyone alive today. My concerns are about how I tell her I'm done working with her and I'm going my own way. We've been working together for centuries, and I'm the person she trusts the most. She might take it as a betrayal if she does, that isn't my fault. I'm allowed to leave and be my own person and have an identity outside of Heldevora's business partner. A/N, below this line, I'll be keeping Sarah's player information. That way, I won't have to place it into the story above anymore. It takes about 180 words up. Slayer, Zirn, level 193. EXP, 3/100%. Title, The Son of Archangel Michael, Hidden. Stats: Strength 7095, Endurance 7045, Dexterity 7215, Speed 8240, Focus 19660. Mana Aura Control, 6/100%. Health, 76,560 million/76,560 million. Mana, 216,600 million/216,600 million. Stat points, 30. Armor rating, 500. Inventory: Dice of Wayland, Divine, Hardened Tree Sap Armor, Very Rare, The Witness, Legendary Sword, Fenrir's Whistle, Divine, Sally's Dresses 5x Camping Gear, Food Rations 4x Dried Meat 4x Fishing Poles 2x Fish 8x Festival Garbs 2x. Passive perks: Inheritor of the Sword, Son of Heaven, Slayer of Evil, Holy Willow Trees, Savior, Finder of Legends, the Divine who has legend, destined for greatness, Dungeon Diver, and Overachiever. Active skills: Heaven's Light level 59 325/5900, Protected by Heaven level 59 225/5900 level .77 4600/130000, Parry level 5380/5300, Double Strike N/A King Slayer N/A Raging Machine N/A Winged Glory, Angelic Flight, Divine Pressure, Exertion, Divinity Pulse, Controlled Fun.